17. Humanistic Providence. If we deny that man is God's creation, we then make man a product of the void, and man is the potential recreator or remaker of man. If we deny God's providence, we open the door to man's providence and status controls. It would be easy to cite examples of humanistic plans of providence from men like B.F. Skinner. Such men are in the business of planning humanistic controls. Much more significant is the opinion of William Burroughs, a writer, and for almost 10 years an addict to hard drugs. Burroughs is a potential subject of mind-controlling devices. On the other hand, men like Burroughs, in using drugs, have indicated thereby their intense quest for such controls. Burroughs, in abandoning drug addiction, has simply turned to a more sophisticated form of mind control as his humanistic hope of salvation and as the agency of providence. Burroughs recognizes the danger in mind controls. In his novel, The Naked Lunch, he satirized such efforts. All the same, as a humanist, he sees no alternative to it and is ready to accept electrodes which can control the brain, recognizing that once someone has a control box, he is in complete control of anyone fitted with electrodes. For him, man's future requires some such control. Burroughs recognizes that the nature of control is also hierarchical. The orders now are given by fewer and fewer people. More, he adds, I cannot think of any existing society in whose hands I would like this power to fall. However, the, quote, necessity, end quote, of such a providential power overrules his fears. Men can attach themselves to computers if they have electrode implants and have their problems readily solved. It would figure out, for example, everything you owe, accounts receivable, bam, 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 and give you an answer. This kind of implants or autonomic shaping would enable men to do in a few hours what it took a yogi 20 years to learn. Autonomic shaping would replace hallucinogenic drugs and allow us to create, in our cells, the same drug experiences without the drugs. Anxiety could thus be eliminated without the drug side effects. Men would go to sleep by direct electric brain stimulation. Pain could be eliminated by autonomic controls. For Burroughs, the need thus is great for such a control exercised by man over himself. For Burroughs, the present roadblock to autonomic shaping is Christianity, and, in particular, the Christian attitude to sex. Autonomic shaping would eliminate the roadblocks to a totally sexual orientation and experience without moral judgments involved. This autonomic shaping is urgent, not only for sexual reasons or for the sake of the sexual revolution, but to create mutations in man, because, Burroughs holds, a species must mutate or it dies out. An opinion with no scientific validity. Autonomic shaping would create a new man by removing any past conditioning so that man could remake himself. Man must become his own maker and providence, or he will, like some animals, die out. Control of our minds, our society, and our environment may be the answer. I think the human species has reached a point where it's going to have to take some form of forward step, or we're just not going to make it. In other words, for humanists like Burroughs, God being denied, man must become his own creator and providence, or else he will perish. Despite his fears that the state will control the computer, Burroughs still wants implants. Clearly, such men testify to the need for a God, although they offer us a very sorry one. Moreover, in virtually every field, humanism's bankruptcy is increasingly in evidence. In the area of psychotherapy, Professor H.J. Eiseneck states that the data suggests strongly that, if anything, patients treated by psychoanalysis take longer to recover and recover to a lesser extent than do patients left untreated. This does not diminish the popularity of the various forms of humanistic psychotherapy. Rather, they meet a religious need, the demand by humanism for a man-made form of healing, regeneration, and providence. A humanist of some years ago expressed dismay at the decay within the ranks of humanists. He warned, "This belief in man leads not only to moral bankruptcy, but also to intellectual impotence. You can measure nothing with a rule that is always changing." Since Richard's day, disbelief in man and the humanistic state has increased greatly, and yet statist powers have increased. Having no other faith, the growing crisis of humanistic civilization only forces men to rely all the more on the only gods they recognize, man and the humanistic state. This is comparable to the man in Nevada pouring money into the slot machine at a crossroads service station and store. He was warned quietly by a friend that the machine was fixed against him at an impossible ratio. He answered, "Sure I know, but it's the only game in town." The humanist turns to the only God he knows, and his name is man. Moreover, if we believe, as William Blake and others have, that all evil is a result of frustration, and that evil is not in man but in the world around him, then the goal of humanistic providence will be the liberation of man from the chains of Christianity, sexual restraints, law, requirements, standards, and testing. Humanism creates in every area a liberation theology. Man's problems have a simple solution: the liberation of man. Providence thus becomes a liberation from the world of God into the world of anarchistic man, or the world of the humanistic state. According to a California state assemblyman, John Vasconcelos, a Democrat from Santa Clara, man is good and institutions are evil. The question facing society, according to Vasconcelos, is whether the nature of man is basically good or evil. If we believe we are not right, then we design institutions to make not right people okay, he said. If, on the other hand, people are basically decent, then society designs institutions that try to nurture and liberate rather than repress. Vasconcelos believes people are basically good, and that if they are treated with kindness and honesty, they will respond in kind. Vasconcelos, giving out Rousseau's old myths, spoke to a Chico State University 5-day conference on human services conducted by its School of Health and Human Services. The essence of such an approach is to demand more statist providence as the only moral solution to human problems. Men who deny God's providence will get the state's providence and totalitarianism. And men who turn their children over to the educators of the humanistic state will see the wrath of the sovereign God